Buffalo breaking it up, getting it up on the wing, and spun through center ice, picked up by C.J. Smith. He's in over the line, takes a shot.
Hello, hi, how are you? And welcome to another podcast by George. Well, live on the phone with us out, what town are you in? Are you in Buffalo right now? You were in Buffalo last night anyway, right, CJ?
Yeah, I've been Buffalo probably last week or so. I've been in Rochester. My apartment's in Rochester, so I've been back there today to pick up a few things before I head back to Buffalo here.
Yeah, that's C.J. Smith, and honest to God, it's just the hockey gods have aligned here. I've been trying to get C.J. on the call because, you know, he's now the best hockey player ever to come from the state of Iowa. We've got the best skater anyway. We've got a couple of goalies. Scott Clemenson, of course, played in the NHL for a number of years, and there's a kid out of Waterloo that's playing net for Los Angeles right now, I think. But as far as I know, nobody's ever skated in the show until C.J. Smith. And C.J., I watched you a little bit last year. You know, we keep everybody's watching you back here. And then this year you got called up, and you know, I don't follow the hockey news real close, but was it because Iowan went down, or how did you get up with the parent club?
Yeah, I think they did. They had some injuries, and I was playing really well down in the NHL with Rochester, and an opportunity came. They called me up, and I've kind of rolled with it here the last week or so.
Well, here's where the unbelievable good luck comes into play as far as a podcast by George is concerned. We scheduled this interview last night. I'm watching the game on satellite television. CJ scores his first NHL goal. Is that any good?
Yeah, that was probably one of the coolest experiences of my life. And you know, you dream of even playing a game in the NHL, let alone scoring. So it was a pretty big childhood dream that came true, and I was really excited when it happened, obviously.
Oh, my God, so was I. I jumped up about touched the ceiling, I think, when I saw it. Let me describe it, and you can fill in the gaps and tell me if I've got it right here. Somebody played it off the boards down in the defensive zone, kind of flipped it up there, and the defenseman at about the blue line bobbled a little bit. You kind of picked it up, stole it from him, and went in there, shot it 5-hole on the goalie, and it just barely got across the line. Is that the way you saw it?
Yeah, I think there's a breakout and a breakout pass and kind of a high flip to middle of the ice, and their D-man kind of bobbled it, and I was able to hop on the loose puck and kind of turn my body towards the net, threw it on net, and it just barely trickled in. But it was like I said, it was a pretty crazy experience. It's kind of funny. I was the only one behind the net, so I was the only one that could see it for sure go in. So none of the other guys were too ready to hop on the celebration train yet because they weren't too sure if it went in. But I knew, so it was kind of a cool moment I had there almost by myself.
Yeah, and it was going to one of those reviews, and I thought, my God, but then as soon as they showed the overhead to the television viewers, it was obvious that it had crossed the line and that you had your first goal. I mean, that's fantastic. I watched the Florida game that you played in, and then I watched you guys up in Boston. I don't know, that wasn't probably your best there. That one, you didn't win that one. That wasn't the best game to watch, except for, have you ever played with people as big as Tage Thompson and Chara? My God, those guys are giants.
Yeah, those two are pretty big bodies. I try to stay away from Tage as much as possible as far as media, so I don't want to get any pictures of me standing next to him because I look so small next to him. But
yeah,
he's a good kid, and yeah, those two are some pretty big boys out there.
Yeah, well, we've been, everybody knows you're going to make it up there. You're going to play in the NHL. You've done very well in the American Hockey League. I know you had that standout All-Star game last year, and so everybody keeps saying, when's CJ going to play in the show? When's he coming up? I don't know. I think it's a salary cap thing or a contract thing, or they just don't have room for him. I don't know what, but, I mean, you've looked great since you've been up there. Give us a quick, a little backgrounder here now on your hockey, because guys back here, in the men's league, the people that I play with, they're aware of you, CJ, but a lot of them don't really know you. They haven't had a chance to play with you because I think you're one of these guys that, as a kid, you left town early. Kind of give us the background.
Yeah, so I was born in Des Moines. I grew up in Johnston actually, and hockey was kind of my passion. 6th and 7th grade, and I was pretty good at it, and just kind of knew there wasn't as much competition here, so I was me and my family decided let's see what I have here. So in 8th grade, I decided to move to Minnesota, where kind of bounced around a couple places there, but I found a fit for me, and I left again my junior year of high school to go to play in the NAHL for a couple years, and then a year in the USHL after that before I went to University of Massachusetts Lowell.
So what was the light bulb moment for you? I know, because, again, I'm playing with all these guys. I'm still waiting for mine to come on. I'm going to be 64 next year, CJ, so my light's getting a little dim. But for you, when you went to the NHL, is that when you knew that this might be your future?
You know what? When I got my when I committed to school at UMass Lowell, my Division I commitment, it was kind of something I knew I was pretty good at, and that was always kind of my goal as a child, was just playing D1 hockey. Never really thought of playing in the NHL, and I was always kind of a late bloomer, kind of small, so it was being able to commit to a D1 school. I was pretty excited for myself, and I think when I got to school, I kind of realized I kind of playing against these other guys, and I was probably one of the better guys my freshman year, and I kind of realized that's kind of when I had a shot at being able to play hockey after my college career, and I was able to sign in a really good situation. I had some really good coaches here and over the last couple of years, and I think it's really helped out my game.
Well, the bad news is I'm old. The good news maybe is I've watched a lot of hockey going back. I mean, a lot of hockey going back to, my God, CJ, I watched Bobby Orr on television back in the day. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of hockey, and I'm looking at you playing and coming up, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, okay, now I've seen these guys come up before. Sometimes they look real nervous. They play out of position. They run around. They look like they're in over their head. Or sometimes they just kind of disappear. You don't notice them at all. But that's not the case. These few games that I've been watching with you, you've looked really good. You don't look like a small player. You look like you're plenty big enough. You're in the right places. You're getting shots. You're getting good looks all the time. You're not getting nailed. You're not getting plastered up against the boards by guys like Chara. That wouldn't be a wise choice. But I think you look good. And then last night, that goal, I mean, that just capped it off. That was stellar. That was outstanding.
Yeah, thank you. I think I got to give a lot of credit to the teammates and coaches I've had here in the past. I think they've really helped me out a lot as a player and a person. I think I kind of came in. I was kind of a responsible two-way player, and just trying to pick my chances when best possible. So you don't want to, like you said, you don't want to stand out in a bad way, but you also need to do something to get noticed out there.
You just go to the right places. You look like a real heady player. I would look at you and say you've got as much skill as anybody out there. Blinding speed, maybe not, but plenty fast enough. I mean, you get to where you need to be, and that's the most important thing. You're there. How do you like playing with Kyle Okposo? Yeah,
he's someone who played for the Des Moines Buccaneers for a couple years. He's a really good player. He plays really heavy in the offensive zone. He gets over pucks, and he wins a lot of battles coming out of the corner. So it's one of those things you got to get open for him, or kind of get lost around the net and find the second scoring opportunities, because he's going to create a lot of first opportunities for you, whether that's him driving to the net or him getting out to the point and getting a shot from the point. So playing like that, playing with someone who's really good in both ends and all three zones actually it kind of just helps me out, a younger guy coming in the league.
The hardest working guy in hockey. I mean, he really puts it out there. Now, here's the thing, CJ, you don't know this, but you and I have one thing, and probably one thing only, in common in hockey. You and I have both skated on a line with Kyle Okposo. So here's my Kyle Okposo story. When he was playing for the Bucks, as you mentioned, he came in as a high school student, and they didn't have the ice in at the Hickman Arena yet. So those high schoolers came out and skated a noon pickup hockey game with us, including Kyle when he first hit town. And I was fortunate enough to get out on the ice with him. And so we come back to the bench, and he's not paying attention to me or us, obviously. He's just there kind of getting the rust off, I think, skating with his high school buddies. I sit down on the bench next to him, and I kind of give him the elbow. I says, now, Kyle, if you have any trouble finding your way around town, since you're from Minneapolis, just ask me, because I've been driving around here for like 40 years. And he kind of chuckled, and he said, yeah, 40 years, right. And he looked over at me, and then he looked through my cage into my face. Oh, shit. Yeah, you're old. Yeah, I'm old. But I was on the ice with Kyle Okposo, and it's a moment that I'll never forget. And guys like you, maybe, I don't know if you're even aware of that, but my God, whenever you get a chance to, or whenever you can, I mean, you don't want to risk injury and all that kind of stuff, but in the summer months, if you're ever back, if you can get out there on the ice with guys like me, it's a Kodak moment. It's just something to never forget.
Yeah, I probably three of my best buddies from Des Moines still. Well, actually, one of them plays in the ECHL. I don't know if you know Willem, right?
Yes, I know Willem. And he's has he got an injury right now?
He could. I haven't talked to him here lately, but I stay in touch with him, and so we try to get on the ice every now and then. I think we've usually ended up in Ames, if anywhere, during the summer. But yeah, I spend most of my time in Minnesota, skating in Minnesota, and I work out with Kyle in Minnesota, and so I think those kind of helped me going into this year too, being able to train with someone like him.
Yeah, what do they call that league that you guys play in with the NHLers in it during the summer? There's a name for it.
Yeah, it's called it's like the Beauty League.
Yeah, the Beauty League. I'd almost buy tickets to be able to watch it. And I think Willem is still in Rapid City, I think. Who else you want to give a shout out to? Because I'll make sure they get a listen to this podcast. Who back in Des Moines do you still remember or still get together with whenever you do have an opportunity to come into town?
You know what? I had a good chunk of friends, send me a text last night, which I was really grateful for and really appreciative of. I guess Willem and Frankie Spellman and Michael Cataldo are probably my three best buddies back there. Oh, and Austin Nixon. Got to give a shout out to him. I'm sure he'll hear at some point. He's one of my good buddies too. They're kind of guys I always run into and hang out with whenever I make it back there.
Well, for guys, that love the game and follow it and watch it, how do you describe the experience? What's it like? If somebody just says, "What's it like playing in the NHL?" What do you tell them?
I think it's just like whatever you dreamed of as a kid. It's a really special moment. Kind of at the same time, you've just been playing hockey at a pretty high level all your life. So it's not just another game, but you kind of you've obviously played so many games in your past here. It's nothing too crazy, but the first couple times you get on that ice and you see some of these players you grew up watching and idolizing, it's sometimes it can take you in off for a bit, and that's kind of when you got to regroup and focus a little bit on what you're doing.
I didn't see it. I guess I just wasn't paying attention. Did somebody pull the puck out for you last night? Who got that for you? Out of the net?
You know what? I'm not even sure, but yeah, I was fortunate enough someone grabbed the puck for me and give it to me after the game.
God, what a moment! And the next day you're on my podcast. That's hilarious. That's great. Well, I want to just wish you the best and thank you for being on the show. The NHL experience is something else. I've always wanted to ask somebody like you and a younger player. I mean, hockey has changed a little bit. I see a guy like Pierre McGuire, the commentator. He interviews people rinkside all the time. And even in the Stanley Cup finals, he'll wish them well and tell them to go out there and have fun. Now, I look at that and I think, okay, so I'm C.J. Smith. I'm up there, and this is my big opportunity, and I'm scoring a goal, and it's fun, kind of, but it's serious business, and there's a lot of money on the line, and there's a championship at stake here. Is playing hockey at that level? Would you describe that as fun? Is it really fun?
I mean, yeah, like I said, it's in the NHL, it's your childhood dream, so it is a lot of fun. But yeah, it is. There can be a lot of stress on it, and I think guys push themselves, and they do put a lot of stress on themselves because it is such a business up there. But I'm pretty thankful for my friends and my family. I think they kind of know whenever I'm getting stressed out. They usually kind of take a step back for me, and they remind me I'm playing hockey for a living. So I think they're always usually pretty good at putting in perspective for me what I'm doing, and I'm really grateful for what I do, and I do enjoy it, and I do have a lot of fun playing.
Now that's great. Well, these 3 games that I've watched you play, I think are just stellar for a guy coming in from the American Hockey League. You haven't made any mistakes. You haven't made any big giveaways. You haven't cost the team anything. You've scored a goal. You were part of a big win last night against New Jersey there in Buffalo. Now, what's next for you? Eichel, I heard, is going to come back pretty soon. Will you stay with the team? Will you go back to Rochester? What's coming up?
Yeah, it's kind of a day-by-day situation. So just trying to make the most out of every situation, and my goal is to be up with the Sabres the rest of the year. So hopefully doing whatever I can to keep that opportunity.
Well, I certainly hope so, too. We want to wish you all the best. I'll check back in with you. I'll give you a text and see if we can get you on a little later in the year, and I hope it's in the NHL, because the Sabres are looking good. They look to me like they've got what it takes to get to the playoffs this year after missing it last year, and it looks like it's going to be a great year. You look like you fit in, and I think that's where the future is, and I'm just tickled to death to have you on this podcast. I'll tell everybody back here hello for you, and continue to follow you on the NHL package. And then when you make it back in the summertime, look me up. It'll be easy to find me. Just look for the old guy.
All right.
And we'd love to skate with you back here, CJ. That's CJ Smith. An NHL hockey player. Folks not acquainted with him. He's with the Buffalo Sabres and doing great. And he's my newest hockey buddy on another podcast by George.